appreciate you taking time to jump on today and chat about martial arts.
Heck yeah.
How long have you been in martial arts now, or karate?
I started in 1971, so about working on 53 years.
Wow, that is a long time. You've probably seen a lot of stuff come and go in that time.
Man, I don't say I've seen it all because something will slap me in the face here later,
Yeah, it's always bad luck.
It's unique that I've been, I tell people my sales pitch is not that I say 1995 internet special, free uniform. I don't do all that. Mine is my personality, and I've been in Bowling Green for 46 years teaching the same class, same dojo, same stuff, same curriculum, man. The old school curriculum that I grew up in. It's just a good solid. It's got self-defense. It's got basics, forms, all the stuff that we work on. And some kids are better at other events than others. Some kids don't like to fight. Some kids don't want to be out there doing their form in front of people. A whole different twist nowadays. Used to, my dad would make you do it all, or you didn't pass your test.
And I always tell people that too, like we do a little bit of everything as well. And I tell people it's because not everybody's going to be good at I even tell my black belts too that they're gonna be really into fighting for a little bit, and then maybe they get really into doing weapons for a little or form. Like you're not gonna stop something. You just may be like, ooh, this really intrigues me now. I mean, they're going to do it. I explained to them, if they're going to do it their whole lives, like a lot of us have, you're going to wind through that road a little bit. And that's amazing. You guys have all that stuff because it gives them that option.
Yep. Well, I tell people, we are not ready for the tournament. Well, I asked the lady the other night, one of the parents, I said, you're not their instructor. I am. And here's the way I learned. Get out there. And that's the way we do it, and once they do it, they say, man, I'm glad I did that. Or they can go to the tournament and watch, and then they watch, and their first reply is, I wish I would have got out there.
I just had that conversation. Somebody's like, Mr. Thomason just had his tournament. One of the parents goes, I think we're just going to drive over and watch. And I said, ma'am, no one has ever driven to watch a tournament and not come up to me afterwards and been like, gosh dang it, I wish we would have just went out there.
Yeah.
Really, I said, I'm just telling you, don't waste your time. If you're going to come over, put him in the tournament. We're not going to let him get hurt. I'm just glad to see it as it just me. And I've got, 20 more years to listen to the same stuff because I just don't know if Billy's ready, awesome. Have you done martial arts your whole life? No, he's ready. Are you sure? Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. I didn't walk over here to lie to you. I have better things to do with my time. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I have these conversations with my manager at the end of the night all the time. I'm like, do people really think I'm just going to make that up? Just going to tell them their kid's ready just to make me feel better? Like, I don't get anything out of it. I want to see the kid do well.
Yes, and do well might mean just they did it. They persevered and they fought through that uncomfortable feelings that they're going to have, because they're going to have those uncomfortable feelings their whole life. And if you can't battle it in a little competition, different, you're going to be freaked out when somebody says boo or you're fired or get out or whatever it is. They're going to have to persevere through those tough words, but kids are a little different nowadays because their times are different. Don't blame it on the kids, blame it on technology and where we're at right now. It's not the kids' fault.
Not at all. Not at all. I had that conversation with someone recently too. I was like, they're living in a world different than any of us have ever lived in before. One of the things that I've gotten a lot of in the last 6 to 8 months that I didn't know, but a lot of children born during COVID are now struggling extreme social anxiety. I have people bringing me third graders that are experiencing suicidal thoughts because they're so afraid of people because they were locked away during COVID. And I got to talking to some of them, and it's a real problem. And I had never thought about that. And now we're getting a lot of them. I have a lot of them joining the program for that because they're just scared to talk to people.
Yeah. Well, part of One Stripe is, if you're 4 or 5 or 6 years old in my little Tiny Tigers or Little Dragons class, they might not learn the form because they don't have patience to do the form 72 times before you get it, but they learn their presentation and they learn how to say their name and look at people in the eye and man, there's a whole wide range of stuff that we don't even get into. We just think it's competing and going to win and lose. No, you win, lose, yes, but everybody learns.
Yes, sir. We were talking with the students about sportsmanlike conduct. And I said, well, you're at a tournament, you're competing against someone. And I was using some examples of things I've seen over the years. I said, you have somebody comes out there and they're real nice and they give you a little pitter patter when you spar, they kind of tap you. But after the match, they don't shake hands, they throw their helmet, they get upset. I said, or you come up against somebody that walks out on mats, they bump gloves and they get it on. And after the match, they give you a hug, they say good job and they walk off. I said, which one's good or bad? And they were confused. And I said, the bad one is the one that comes out and doesn't give you an honest fight and then throws a fit afterwards. That's not sportsmanlike. I said, there is nothing wrong with being aggressive in a sparring match. And then you bump gloves, you shake hands. What's wrong is being aggressive in a sparring match and then being a jerk about it. And we were breaking it down and you could tell that it's not something, and like I said, Sensei Kramer and I had this discussion a couple years back at a tournament, like people think going out there and doing your best is like bad. Like going out there really going at, oh man, they were super aggressive in that sparring match. Yeah, but were they polite, friendly? Like, I mean, I've sparred many of my friends. I want to kick their butt. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it. So it's a different world.
Yeah, I go back to saying me and Shaw Austin, we used to have wars, me and him. But at the end of the night, we're on the same team together. I know that's come up a couple times with different team members. They want to see us fight. I don't care what team you're on. They want to see Shaw and Marty fight. And we did that. But at the end of the day, and we even talked trash a little bit, through the match. It happens. But at the end of the night, we were hanging out together and we were being friends, and we're still friends to this day. It's really cool.
I popped a video in one time for guys that I worked with that were not martial art friends of mine. And I explained this to my students when I was a kid. Like a lot of people that I was friends with, I was the one that did martial arts. It wasn't like nowadays my students, all their friends do it too. But I remember them watching a VHS tape of me sparring, and my buddy was like, oh, you hate that guy, right? I said, no, we made a bet. Whoever lost that match had to buy dinner. And I said, we rode together to go eat and hung out that night. He's like, how do you do that and not like hate him? I'm like, it's a game. It's about who's going to win or lose. I said, we got in trouble before the match because our trash talking was so bad. A parent overheard it and told somebody else. We were told that if we were going to be stupid enough to talk that way, to talk a little quieter, not in front of the yellow belt parents, because they didn't understand that we weren't really going to do any of that stuff. We were good friends. We were just trash talking.
Yeah.
It's because it's about the match. Now, you came up in martial arts. Your father was before you, correct? Because I know a little bit about the history there. Like, when did you get into martial arts, and how? I always like to dive into that with people about, how that was training with a parent.
I got into martial arts because my dad said, you're going to do it. This is what we're going to do together. And I said, yes, sir. Of course, he never said that until I could get in there. I just watched him go to the karate school every day. And they didn't take kids back then. You had to be a little older. And George Hernandez, Ken Knutson, Bill Josetis, all the Olympic karate guys, they all had schools. And I'd go and just sit on the side and watch because I couldn't participate. It wasn't like it is now. It was all just adults, older kids. And it was just a little different flavor. That's all. And my dad just said, hey, you're going to do this. And I was just in agreement with him. And, I knew from 8 or 9 years old, I said, I'm going to be just like my dad. Matter of fact, I put a picture on there not long ago, the old Midwest Enterprises out of Chicago. It was a company. Master Shin is still in business to this day, up in Chicago. Yeah, Midwest Enterprises is what it's called, East-West Market Exchange. And they're still there. And I still go get black belts, the Bear brand belts from him. That part of my life, I just said, I'm in, Dad. Getting your dad's attention and then getting to fight a little bit. Man, what kind of flavor do you like there? So that's in a nutshell. I couldn't wait I put that picture on there, and it was, he had a maroon gi on with black pants, the old kind of real lightweight gi, and he had the light blue, baby blue Junri equipment. And there's a picture of him in his gi and me in my gi, and it's exactly the same. So I wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to do just like he did. And hopefully I can carry that trend on throughout my life.
That is awesome. That when my son got big enough to wear one of my old uniform tops that I wore when I was a little kid, I remember being like ecstatic, like that was cool. And what was wild is that when my instructor was selling out of that one particular uniform, it was a heavyweight, because I did Taekwondo, but it was a traditional gi with an embroidered dragon. And my dad bought like an adult one and goes, I'll put this up, you'll wear it someday later. And in me to be able to wear the one that my dad bought for me to wear as an adult, and my son to wear my old one, like standing there, like some people just, oh, whatever. But for me, it was like, it was a really cool moment. And that's something I've always thought was cool about you when I've been to your tournaments or been around you, like how much homage you pay to your dad and how awesome that is to see, because as a father, that's the best compliment you can ever get from your kids, is for them to look at that. When I hear people talk about their father with such enthusiasm like you do, I'm always moved by that, because there are times where my kids don't want to go to class. I'm like, no, you're going.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just that simple. You know, Josh Smith, I have many talks about this, you know, you're going, you're doing it. And so I hope that one day they look back and, you know, and they do now at different points. I'll go speak at their schools or something, and they kind of like, it's my dad, but it's always so neat to hear you talk about your father that way, and the way you've honored his legacy has always been really awesome. I've always been inspired by that.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, as growing up as a kid, you know how my dad can beat up your dad. My dad's bigger than your dad. My dad's stronger than your dad. Nobody ever said that to me.
It's awesome.
Never said that to me. Because I played a little baseball, but it wasn't my thing. I wasn't a team player. I was a ball hog and a smart mouth. So I thought I better get into something else besides just being, you know, a team player. But, you know, karate is a team. You go to your dojo, you can have single individual stuff, or you can be in a dojo. You can be on a karate team that's outside your dojo. There's a whole wide range of stuff that you can do. And it's really neat how martial arts intertwines to any person. I think it is something that attracts to a person that's not a team player, that's not good into, some people are, it's a different thing. You know, the individual sports is just you know, skateboarding, things that I did as a kid. I like to be out there by myself a little bit. I don't know why. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I have no explanation for it either. I was the same way. I liked anything that was me. I still like to mountain bike or skateboard or do stuff, but I like just go me. I liked martial arts. I hated team sports when I played them as a kid. Somebody get mad I didn't catch the ball, I'd feel I let the team down. But with martial arts, it was me. Even though we were on a team, I still would get up and compete, but it was me. And Aaron Hensley said it best. We had a meeting and he was talking. He said that martial arts attracts the misfits. It attracts the kids that don't fit in. It attracts the ones that don't. You know, how many parents come in and tell you over the years, we've tried all this, it doesn't work. So we're here to try karate. This is something. And I thought that was a great representation, that it does attract the misfits, the ones that don't fit in the bubble.
They better find something, or something will find them, because that goes like me and Josh's story. You know, it can get deep. Depends on what kind of fire you went through. Not everybody has to go through the fire, but everybody's going to go through a little bit of fire in their life, some just more than others. And if you don't persevere through a little bitty hiccup or whatnot, you're going to be upset at life, man. You know, you're going to have that PTSD and you're going to have that depression because of what you've done and what you've built and the seeds you have planted.
Sorry for all the technical is how this works. Technology is great until it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I have my emergency packets in my tournament ready. It's the bracket sheets with kata and fighting. And in case something went down, I'm just pulling out a sheet. If you got your 4 kids, we're doing them there. I'll write it back when it comes back up. You know, we're going on.
Yeah. Oh, we did Mr. Thomason's tournament recently. We just did it on paper because he knew the school had weak Wi-Fi. So we just did the whole thing on paper. And honestly, it was smooth. It was great. Everybody there was experienced with using paper division. So it worked wonderful. Now, you have a pretty illustrious career with karate and everything. How did that kind of start for you?
We started back in 1980. And that was our first tournament. And Land Trips was involved there. And Mr. Sharkey came down. Same thing we're doing now. You know, just a different generation of that. But we just kind of, because back, in the 70s and 80s, there wasn't tournaments like there is now. You know, you get to go to a few tournaments here and there. It was a whole different ball game. Like we always talk about in life, there wasn't one every weekend. So you had to be ready for that one because there was only a few. I think I've been going to the Chicago tournament since '75, aka Grand Nationals.
Wow.
My first tournament. It's been a great journey. It really has. I love sport karate. It's not the same either, but you know what? If that's all we got, that's what we like. And we're going to keep embracing it and keep trying to build up people to get involved with our sport. Traveling baseball is big around here, and they do that a lot. Well, same thing. We just go travel and fight. It's just go travel and compete and go all over the country with that. And I like it just like I would like any other sport. I'm a sports fanatic of every aspect. I just know that martial arts did something to me that the other sports couldn't do. And that's why you want to kind of find your kids' niche to say, where is it? Because if you don't, and it's just computers, technology, and video games, you're not going to like the results you see. Bottom line.
No, and I think a lot of people are realizing that these days too, and they're reaching out. And I think a lot of martial arts school owners too are realizing that they're not teaching kicking and punching anymore. They're using kicking and punching as a tool to help people build other things. And if that message is there, what you're able to do with it's amazing.
That's correct. I had like we said, you get your stuff, get in the car, we're going to karate. Parents now say, well, I don't want to make him do it. He's 7 years old. I mean, you're going to have to make him do everything. I can't believe they said that. And this same parent the month before just told me how much better he's doing at home with his respect to his brothers and sisters, how much more respect he has for the mom. And the biggest thing, how much better in school he's doing. But you're going to let him quit? Shame on you. Because it was the karate that got him to where he's at.
Yes, sir. And they quit. I've got a teen right now who's been training for years. I've got to have a talk with her. Done great. And she was offered to do her commitment to do her 3rd degree black belt. And I said, we can get your 3rd degree in before you go away to college. And she told someone else, well, I really don't need that. And it's like, hold on, you've been here for 9 years. We've discussed a million times. She's even wrote papers on what martial arts has done for her, but now you don't need it? Like, I was always blessed as a young person. Even if I didn't listen right then, I took it in, I absorbed it, and I always respected people older than me enough to at least acknowledge it and let it simmer, not just write stuff off. And it helped me so much in life. And her and I've got to have a chat on this is something you need. Because it is so important for them. And like you said, oh, they're doing great now. Well, this is what got you here, so now quit? No, that's not how this works. Or like you said, I can't make them. It's like, well, if they take your car keys and leave with your car, are you just going to be like, I can't make them? I'm like, no, you're the parent. My kids, every time something new flashy pops up, their buddies do. I own the school. They go there. Our garage is full of trophies, and they'll still be like, oh, I want to go do this. And I'll tell them that's fine. Guess what? Those tournaments you love to go to, if you're going to do this over here, we're probably going to have to skip some tournaments. Whoa, I don't want to skip tournaments. Oh, well, then we should probably just go to the school tonight. And okay, cool, Dad. Like, they're kids. They don't know everything. You got to tell them sometimes, this is good for you. You're going to go do it. I don't want to do it. It's good for you. If we let the kids pick, they just eat donuts, sit on a couch all day. You tell them. I tell my kids, hey, we're going to go run today. I don't want to. I don't want to run. Cool. It's good for you. Well, let's go. I mean, if I'm the bad guy, I'm the bad guy, whatever. But that's how we got to raise them.
Well, how many times do you hear adult people say, man, I wish I wouldn't have let mom and dad wouldn't have let me quit. It wouldn't have let me quit. I mean, I wish they could hear themselves, especially if their kids are on the mat and they're doing it and they have done it when they're a kid. It's just, I think martial arts touches from the inside out, and that makes the difference.
I had that talk. We've got a group getting ready to do their black belt. And I told them, I said, what you guys are doing is what so many people don't do. I said, I've never met anyone that come up to me and said, you know what? I'm so mad my parents made me get my black belt. No, they all come up and they say what you just said. I wish my parents wouldn't let me quit. Or adults come up and say, I wish I would not have quit. Like, no one ever says, I'm so angry that I got it. They tell you they're a black belt. Or they tell you that they were allowed to quit. They don't tell you they're upset they got it. And I preach that to the students that, you guys you're unique, you're continuing, look at your classmates, look who's not here. You're here. This is part of that journey.
Yeah, it is. It's a great journey with people, not just kids nowadays. Martial arts is for adults. I mean, my adult class is booming. I mean, adults need a little something, and it's an inside job with that. Karate class is not that hard. I mean, now if you've not done nothing in 20 years, anything you do is going to be hard. So you
So
got to fight through a little bit of that too, the soreness, the stuff. Our body acquires that. It's a touchy subject sometimes with people. Really, it's about time and decision. That's what it is. I seen that a post. I didn't make it up, but I use it all the time. If a parent or a person could fast forward a few years till their black belt graduation day, you would never let them quit, because that's a feeling you can't. I don't care how good of a shortstop you are, unless you go play a major league ball and you're making $3 million a year. But other than that, there's a difference. Or going to college. I see, parents think that maybe they're good enough, they could get a education through their scholarship, which is cool. That's but that's a small percentage of that. Very, very small percentage. After little league, it goes way down. After high school, it even goes farther down. And then college, how pro, it just goes that same way. But we can be professional karate people at any age. I've got some girls with me: Abby, Riley, Briley, Emma, 4 young girls. They are professionals. All I got to do is put them out on the mat and watch the parents go, wow. I mean, unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I'm new
it,
to, excuse me, but I'm new to letting people do my school. I mean, I've become chopped liver,
listen,
and that I don't like it, because I still love what I do. But the kids are communicating better. The small group thing, put them over here, let's do this. Because you put somebody out in front of somebody, out in front of a bunch of people, and the kids today, they will fold. Now, if they've had a little bit of experience in being out there, they won't. They'll say, "Judge is my name, and I got this." And, you wouldn't believe how many people can't even say their name. Even adults. How many times, Matt, have you seen an adult come up and say, "Judge is my name," and they forget their name, because it's the pressure, and you're in that uncomfortable position that you got to fight through, like you do when a policeman comes to the side of your window and says license and registration. You're going to feel a little uncomfortable. It's that uncomfortable feeling that you can handle you know
I just talked to the other night about that. When I went up and did my 6th degree black belt test years ago, we trained for years for it. We got there. The grandmasters from the Kukiwan took us through all sorts of training. We did 20 hours that weekend of training. We got up on Sunday night to test, and the guy in front of me walked up, bowed in, and went, I don't know, and walked off the mats. And he was probably 10 or 15 years older than me at the time, and I was 30 then. And I remember being just blown away by that pressure. And it was an intimidating panel of about 20 judges. They looked super grumpy. And I just remember being glad I continued to train, because this gentleman, it got to him, and we had all trained all weekend. They basically walked us through everything we had to know. There was no reason to bow other than I explained to the class, pressure. It was uncomfortable. There was pressure. He didn't know how to deal with it. And that's one of the big takeaways from martial arts, is they learn that. I love the introductions and the tournaments, because I've got 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds. We're teaching how to do that. Well, when their teacher calls on them in class, they're going to be able to answer and speak and talk to an adult. My daughter's 9, and she trains with Caitlin Deschelle. She trains with Caitlin. I have to remind Caitlin all the time, like, Jocelyn's 9. She's like, I know, she's just so well spoken and so mature for her age. And she's tall too, that helps, but she's only 9 years old. But she communicates and does things that a young adult does because of the atmosphere she's been in. She's competed all over the place. She's comfortable. That's the big takeaway with martial arts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, when they go have to ask for that job or that certain thing that they need, a person can walk right in. I have a student years ago. He wanted the job, and he went and applied for it. And I know the guy he was applying for the job. He calls me a few days later. He put me on for a reference, and he calls me and he says, "Marty, I got 13 applications, and all of them are better than him, but I like this kid." And he said, "There's something about him." And I said, "It's the karate." He gave him a chance. 7 years later, he's still with him.
Man,
That's neat. And he learned. He learned how to adapt, overcome, and improvise with things.
they do. They learn so many skills from it. When my one black belt, Kendall, would go speak at Rotary and Chamber of Commerce things for her program at school, DECA, she would walk up, address the adults, and she would speak, and the adults would be like, holy moly, you're more comfortable in front of us than most doctors or PhD, like really educated people. And they're like, you're 17. The only problem she had when she first started speaking is she would look like there were 3 judges. And I'd laugh because she would always rotate her head like she was presenting to the judges at a tournament. And I'm like, hey, we got to work on your eye contact because I'm just waiting for her to pop into a bow. But she was so confident, and she would stand up there and project and speak that I had fun watching the audience. I'd sit there and kind of look around because they would just be blown away, because the other kids that get up, and even if they had the courage to get up there and speak, they didn't have that presence. That her competing and having to get up there at, she's competed at Battle of Atlanta several times, and getting up there when you've got that type of pressure, you're not supplementing that. That's what we're creating for them. And it's just huge what it does. And I bet, in your lifetime and having your school there for 46 years, that's awesome. You've seen so much of this and experienced it. That's awesome.
And I have to change and evolve with stuff. Kids don't learn like they used to. I learned off the old bust your chops day. You little fart, you better straighten up or I'm going to A, B, and C. And you do that to a kid now, he shuts down. You ain't going to get nothing out of him. But kids work off of praise and encouragement and just being there for them, listening to them. Kids like that. The parents are young enough, and I'm older than them. So, they're young enough that they're still busting on this Facebook, this magic black box, as I call it, and they're brought up on that. So therefore, their kids are like that. All they want is you to put that phone down and give them a little time and talk to them. But they'll hand the phone to the back seat and say, here, watch your game, watch your video, get out of my hair type thing, because I've had a long day at work. I understand that. But you signed up for being a parent. It's 24/7, man, and it never stops all your life.
The other day at the school, we had sparring class, we had comp team, we had leadership, we had private lessons, and we had a birthday party. These kids were running around screaming at the birthday party, and my 3 teenagers that were helping me were standing there, and they just looked, Marty, they looked drained. They were just like, oh. And I put my arms around them. I said, this is why you guys want to wait long and hard before you have little children of your own. I said, because you get to go home and they go home with mom and dad. I said, but when you guys get these opportunities to go to these parties or make these bad decisions, I said, remember how you feel right now, because guess what? Your mom and dad, your parent all day long. You don't get to shut it down. I said, you guys get to go home right now. And their parents were high-fiving me on the way out the door because I gave them a little pep talk on why we wait to do that and how important that is.
Well, they don't have the communication skills because they've been looking at that screen all day long. And when a person says boo or something happens that they feel uncomfortable, they don't know how to take it, because of how they've grown up, and we just got to kind of break the chain with that and break that spirit. Like that's not a good spirit to be in. That's a bad place.
Well, they walk in, they got it in their face, their head's down. It's almost like it's a way of them hiding. I watch them pop their headphones in and do that. And I even got parents, I'll walk out between classes or if the leadership takes over for a second or we're on a water break and they have to pop their earphones out, and I'm like, you're not even listening to the kid in class. Like that's why they're looking back. That's why they like me. I'm out there looking at them. You gotta talk. It's hard.
One threw the parent underneath the bus the other day. They came up and she said, you did so good. And he said, you weren't even watching. You were on your phone. I didn't say, I just turned and walked away, man. I was like, oh, got him.
I had a kid that was struggling, Michael, and his grandfather came up there and his grandfather told him, said, I'm going to watch everything you do. Because I went over to Grandpa and I asked him, I said, hey, are you mad? He goes, no, I told him I'm going to watch everything you do. And his grandpa would sit there and would not take his eyes off him. And that kid went from being a mess to being awesome in a month. because he had Grandpa. Every time he'd look over, Grandpa would give him a thumbs up and be watching him. And I sat down and told Grandpa, I was like, I appreciate you so much.
Yes. Yeah, I got it.
Because at first I took it because it was weird almost at first that he was so engaged and locked in. And I thought he was angry. I was like, hey, are you upset with him? Or is there an issue? And he was like, no. I told him, I'm gonna come up here and watch you because I believe in you. Wow, that kid just did great. And then they pulled him out about 3 months later. Grandpa quit bringing him up, so Mom and Dad just pulled him, and I was devastated. You can't I can't get too emotional about it anymore because I've had the school 16 years now, and I know I'm gonna see another 1,000 of them go that way too. So I can't get too worked up, but it always bothers you.
Yeah, that's the bad part about my job. I get attached to people, not just kids. I get attached to people, and I see what it does for them. From the woman that I put a piece of duct tape on her belt because she quit smoking. We had to kind of came up some kind of way, and I said personal goals. Well, the kids get personal goals on one side of their belt, being good at school. I do a life side on the belt. One side is karate. That's the belt you're going for. The other side is all the decorative stripes. It's like the stickers at school and, all those things, man, they love to get that. It's called accomplishment. I got kids that's got stripes all the way up their top of their knot. Well, if they're doing good things, I'm going to do that. That's the way that works. And when a kid it's a piece of duct tape. I mean, it has no value whatsoever, but the meaning behind it is bigger than everything else. And it works for adults too. On personal goals. That's what we do with that.
I love that you do that with the adults. I never thought that. We have actually a really large teen and adult program too in the last 2 years. It's really taken off, and it's shocking. We have 40 students over the age of 12, and you know how it is. It's normally back in the day when you got started, it was all adults. Then it went to where it was just all kids. I couldn't get teenagers to start. And now I've got this huge group of teens and adults, and it's like, I love it because but I never thought to do the goal stripes with them. That's really cool. I would love that. I'm a goal person. I'd eat that up.
Yes, it's huge. It is huge. Losing a few pounds, or just, I don't know. I make up stuff. I mean, because everybody's personal things are different. It depends on your life. May it be smoking or just getting in the studio twice a week. Coming in there and keeping your repetition rolling from right there.
That is awesome. I love that. I'm gonna have to put something together like that for my dojo because I love that idea of setting that goal with them because they make all the cutesy little ones for the kids, and we're actually getting ready to start. I was just showing that to my instructors the other night. I want to start rolling that out with the kids program more, get more active in it. Now we've instituted and changed a lot of things, and I did think about doing something like that for the adults. I love that.
Yeah, I give it a 10. If they're there both their days, they get one of their stripes. Now they got all kind of duct tape, Matt. I mean, I go to Walmart all the time and I buy every kind of duct tape they got. And I open up first they get their stripes and then they get their red, silver, gold, black on the one side. And then they start getting to choose all the other little fun stripes, the Superman, the Batman stripe, there's pink stripes. But the kids, I open up the drawer and they go, whoa, and they get to pick their own stripe. I mean, that is golden with that. So to the instructors out there, get every piece of every colored duct tape you can get and wrap them all the way around that belt, even if it's just for attendance and effort. I mean, everybody's got to get those stripes. It just does something really well to their spirit, to their mind, to their well-being. It's kind of like the box at Christmas. They get all these nice things and they're over there in a box crawl around, the box is nothing, but it's something to them. And that's the same thing as the duct tape,
That's awesome. Well, hey, I really appreciate you jumping on. Go ahead.
Only had electrical tape. So you got 4 stripes on your belt for that, and it was black tape. That's it. That's all you got.
Yes, sir.
black electrical tape. We didn't use duct tape. It was electrical tape, and you got 4 stripes, and that was it. But that life side of the belt really, really has helped the school and really has helped the retention. It has helped them going, I got to go to karate night. It's stripe night.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's golden with that. I wish people would get more involved with their kids. Parents would get more involved because life is fast. But you're going to look up and your kid's going to be 36 years old. That's how my oldest one is. And I can't believe it. I'm going to be 60 this year. I'm going to come up. I'm getting ready to give Richard Osborne a run for his money.
There you go. Oh, man. He's on my goal. I'm gonna get him on here too.
Love that dude, man. He's just his compassion and his world has changed throughout his life and is still changing even at an older age. I mean, it changes all the time. It just doesn't, it helps the instructors with that, because me and Richard have been cut from the same cloth. We've been through the mill in the 80s, and he's a little older than me, so the 70s. But we persevered all through that, and that's what made us the men we are today.
That is awesome. And that's something I think that life teaches us as we work through it. I don't think people realize that at a younger age. That's one of those things you pick up on when you look back at it.
Yep.
That's so huge.
I've never, like you said, I've never had a person say, man, I wish I'd have never took karate. That was the worst thing ever. I've never had that happen. Now, they might not tell me that, but they're going to, I don't think that's ever happened to people. They know when they go, now they might have a bad experience at a dojo, that happens. I know that happens, but if you're at a good traditional base, the Josh is, the you, and all those people that really have passion for what we do, I think that stands for a lot.
It does. And that's what I tell people when I talk to friends around the US that are looking, they'll message me, hey, want to get into martial arts. I'm like, man, here's what you got to look for. Here's where you got to go. It's about finding that passion. But and I really appreciate you jumping on. You got a tournament coming up, right?
Yeah, we're next week, man. I'm on deck. I think Charles Garrett's got his. I want to plug that. Charles Garrett, man, he's a super dude. He's an instructor. He's a dad. He's got a lot of titles. One of the best judges that I've ever seen. Because main thing, he's fair. And he calls what he sees. If it's not there, you know how that goes. But again, as promoters and judges, we have found another way to make everybody happy. Just call all their points. Call every point they even attempt. And, well, he still beat me. He just had 11 points and you had 9. And I told somebody that one time. I said, I called 9 of your points. He just had 10. And she walked away. And she was like, okay. She took it as that. I mean, you know how that goes. You call everything you see, but back in the day, they used to tell us, they'd say, that's not good enough. Back up, go. And then you tell a kid that's not good enough now, you could shut them down a little bit, and they just don't do anything. They just back up and let the kid beat them.
Oh, yes,
I don't know if you remember Burley Wagner from back in the day. He was from Chicago, and Walt Spears and Burley Wagner were two. I was afraid of them. I was a kid. I was an 8 or 9 year old kid. And they would come around and they'd say, boys, stand on the line. Stand on the line or you're not competing today, with that voice. And we'd all stand on the darn line or we'd shut our mouths. But if you said that same thing, a parent in the background would say, what did he just say to the kids? He told them to stand on the line. Yes, he told them to stand on the line. Because, you got to have that little bit of toughness behind there. I'm just respect authority. We've got to get more in tune with respect and authority, no matter who it is. Police officer comes to your window and they roll it down an inch and say, and you know how they do with that thing? They say, I don't have to do, I know my rights. And it's a policeman, man. I don't understand people. Respect is not as good as it used to be. And that's from a lot of adults and people in general.
Just civilization in general. I used to get pulled over. I always had fast cars, and I was always out where people were driving fast cars, and I would get pulled over. And man, I think at one point I'd walked away from like 26 times I've been pulled over, but I was respectful. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing anything bad. I just had a fast car and was in the wrong place, wrong time, or might have been doing something stupid. I spun a Mustang I had around one time and was looking right at a cop. And I pulled up to pull out on the main street, and I put my blinker on, and I was like, oh, after you, sir. And he waved. He's like, oh, no. After you. And he pulled me over and he gave me some crap about it. He goes like, man, the look on your face when you spun that car around. And I was sitting there, was like, uh-oh. But I was respectful. I didn't roll the window down. What do you want? I was like, yes, sir. No, sir. My hands were, I was polite. And he ended up telling me about some stupid stuff he'd done in his car, told me to keep my head on strate the rest of the night, don't get in any trouble and go home. But if he seen me again, he was going to kick my butt. I said, just sir.
I'll go one step up. Here's me and Richard Osborne Sr. They pulled us over and we're all drinking beer running around. And they made us pour the beer out on the side of the road. And they said, he told me, he looked right at me and said, get home or I'm going to take you to your dad. And I said, that's the worst thing I wanted to hear.
Hey, yes, sir. I'm going home.
Yes. But no, it's a pleasure just helping people. I told the wife, not just martial arts, but I've been married for a long time to a woman that's married to a crazy guy. And I feel like there's some avenues out there with marriages and people that we need to help other than karate to say, hey, stick with it. Stick with it. You made a vow. It's like another thing. We all can start strong, but very few finish strong, man. That doesn't matter in karate, in marriage, in friendships, in everything. We're so disposable now.
Yes.
I don't know why that is. I mean, times, that's what's happened.
I was always lucky. I was my dad's 40th birthday present. So I was raised by older parents. And I'm not saying they were perfect, but I was taught a little bit different outlook. And my instructor in Taekwondo, her dad ran the schools part-time. Vern was in his 70s, and I used to sit and talk to him. And he taught me a lot about stuff like that, everything's not just... It seems like everybody has a slight little tiff and they just quit. They quit everything, whatever it is. They have a bad night at the dojo, they quit martial arts. They have a bad day at work, they quit the job. They, argue with the wife, they quit the wife. It's something that I believe we are making a transition back to these morals and these harder outlooks. I don't know if I'll see it fully in my timeline on this earth, but I believe we are getting back to it. I know so many people like myself at different ones have really went back to church, back to religion. A lot of people have cleaned up their lifestyles. I see it's being celebrated by so many that, hey, you're making good choices. I believe we're going to see it again, but it's things get hard and everybody just wants to stop. And it's a wild outlook because, I like things to be a challenge. I'm kind of broken in that way.
Absolutely. The world is so much different. I just encourage people to stay going no matter what it is. Don't give up on whatever's in front of you. That's what we're so given up. People just give up too easy. We say it in our creed, perseverance, man. You gotta persevere. Tornado, pandemic, loss of a karate school, I've done it all.
Yeah, your school flooded, didn't it? Like you lost all of it.
Yeah. I've been through everything, and I tell people, I keep going. I'm going to teach karate all my life. I'm going to try to help people all my life, because if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Yes, sir. Man, that is a great one there. And you've always been so encouraging at the tournaments and nice. And the short amount of time I've been around this space with the sport karate with you guys, you've always been inspiring and great with the kids. And then great even when I've competed with, around you or watching you, was it at Ozark Mountain last year that you fought?
Yeah,
Ozark Mountain? Yeah, I was standing there. I was helping somebody in a ring, but I turned around. I'm like, oh, Marty's going. I was like, oh, that's awesome. It was so cool to see you guys get up there and compete. And I just love that. And your attitude, you're always so positive, inspiring with that stuff. I just appreciate it. I appreciate you hopping on here today. For when we put this stuff out and post it, if somebody is down in your area, they see this, they want to find your school, how do they get a hold of you and that type of info?
I'm the old school guy, man. The best way to get a hold of me is call me.
Yes,
I want to talk to you. When I have an issue at the karate school, because you can't hear and see the tone and inflection from a text, because you get a text and you go, a little different. It's not supposed to be that way, because when they come into school, they're, hey, sensei, they're totally different when they come into school because you're face to face. But texts and words don't have tone and inflection. If I ever have an issue, I call and I say, we're going to have to get together. We have to talk. You brought your kid in your body. You came in and do that. So now you have to do it again to come in and see that, because people are different in front of one another. You can be a big boy pushing them keys. We all see that, don't we?
I've said that to a guy on the phone. I had a guy call me. I worked for Jiffy Lube and was mouthing off, and I was just in the wrong mood. I'm like, how big a boy are you? And it was old Roy Mercer line.
Sounds like Roy Mercer.
That's the line I laid on him. And my boss was standing there, just looked at me, and I was like, he's threatening. I'd fired his son. His son had called in sick. Well, he went deer hunting, and I fired him because he pulled up to work with deer blood all over the back of his truck. And I was done with it. The guy was threatening me, and I laid the Roy D. Mercer line on him, and he started stuttering around. I was like, well, come on up to the shop. Let's talk. So I wasn't mad. I just was tired of having somebody tell me over the phone how they're going to whip me up one side, down the other.
Yeah.
I had a district manager come in one day, and he always liked to fire me up. I was like, hey, Todd, I need off this weekend. Man, if one more person asks for a day off, I'm gonna put my foot and I'm gonna do this. And he's like, what do you need off for? And it was just his personality. So what do you need off for? So I'm headed out to Illinois to compete in a martial arts tournament. I got a fight Saturday. He just dropped his head. He's like, I really gotta stop saying stupid stuff like that. I was like, it's cool, Todd. I know you're messing with me. He's like, you're in martial arts? I was like, yeah, I've been in it my whole life. He was like, because they always thought if you're in martial arts, you're arrogant. They when they meet me and I was just a normal guy, they were like, wait, you do what? They don't expect that. So for people just to call you, come up, find the school, come see you, meet you, that's the best way.
Yes. I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and we've been here for 46 years, just touching the young people in this community, and it's been such a blessing, and we're just gonna keep doing it. That's what we do.
I love the Santa Cruz hoodie. I just realized you got a Santa Cruz skate hoodie on. That's cool.
I need to put my. We do this thing when we do spring break. I always put on, okay, when you go to spring break, I want you to do your form in somewhere in a unique place. And little Alex Mandrapa did it when about knee deep of water out in Florida. But Rayan and Radon has the lead so far. They did it in front of the Taj Mahal in India.
Oh, that's cool. That is cool.
But I have a little place. My outlet is a little place just down the street. They have a little skate ramp about 4 or 5 foot tall. So if I slam, it's not too bad. But I still like to kick around on that and ride and have some fun. And I always support my Santa Cruz when I'm going to get on my board.
That's cool. I bought a Mike Vallely. They had a last reprint of one of his boards, and he autographed. It was like $100 for an autographed one mailed to you, and I got it hanging in my living room.
I know him well.
I was like, I knew that name my whole life as a kid. I was like, it popped up because he left. I think it was, I don't even remember what he did. He was something happened. They ran a green board that was only going to run for a short time, and he was going to autograph them. And I was like, $100 for his autograph. I'll take it. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
So. But hey, I appreciate you jumping on today, sir. And with all our technical difficulties and stuff, I really appreciate it. Good luck at the tournament, and
a pleasure.
I hope to see you here soon in person.
I will. I'll be up there here at Richards, or I'll be somewhere. I'll see you in May at Terry's.
No, yes, sir. Yep, I got a team coming to that one. We will be there. We look forward to it.
Well, cool deal. If you ever need anything, man, just holler. Have a great day yourself, and keep helping those young people.
Thank you, sir. You too. I appreciate it. Thank you.